Hello and welcome back, Invent Academy. This is the final video in this computer science series. I hope you all enjoy it. This video is going to focus on functions in Python, which are the final step to understanding the basics. And my name is Zack again. I am a freshman at the University of Michigan studying chemical engineering. This is me in the United States Virgin Islands making friends with some cacti. And my favorite video game is Minecraft. Although I haven't played it in a while, it seems to be the game I revert back to the most. As far as the agenda goes, we're going to review lists in Python, and then we're going to learn about functions in Python, specifically calling functions and writing functions. And the only items we need are a computer with mu. As far as lists go, lists are similar to arrays in other languages, contain items in an order and are mutable, so we can change the items in the list or add or remove items. Indexing, we use brackets. The first term starts at 0, index 0. And some of the list methods were append, clear, count, index, insert, sort, blend, remove. I mean, they just go on and on. And now, on to the new stuff, functions in Python. Just a little bit of review from the fourth video. Functions execute a certain block of code, and they're used to make coding more legible and a little bit quicker. Functions can have arguments passed into them, so in this example, they have arrows pointing to the two arguments, x and y. Functions have a return value, or they may be void, so in this case it returns x plus y, so it's adding the two values. And functions are defined using the def keyword right here. And as far as naming functions goes, we want to make sure to use good practices, so we're going to use lowercase letters only and the underscore to separate words if needed. And the name of the function should convey what the function does, and be concise about it, but make sure it's not too generalized. Calling functions. When we call functions, we want to use the function name followed by parentheses and any arguments. So the number of arguments must match the number of parameters in the function, and the arguments must match the type, which is kind of tricky because you don't declare the type in your function, but your function's not going to work if you're passing in a string and an integer, and within your code you're adding the two together. So for example, my function is defined using the def keyword. We have the underscore because that's best practices with the lowercase, and we have 0 arguments. And you got the colon, and all the function does is print the word blue. So when we call the function, the interface will just print blue. And this other one, your function, has the parameter x and colon, and we're going to print yellow times x. So we're going to repeat. Sorry, we're not going to print yellow times x. We're going to repeat yellow x times. And so if we're going to call your function 2, then it's going to print yellow, yellow, without any spaces in between. Writing functions, parameters, and arguments. So parameters are the information that the function needs, whereas the arguments is the info that is passed into the function. So within this right now, this score is a parameter, but when we call it, we pass in arguments. So they're essentially referring to the same thing, just at different stages. And writing with parameters, if something needs to be passed into a function, you have to create a placeholder variable, and that's what a parameter is, essentially. So score is a placeholder until we put in 1 for this. for our final activity, we're going to create a penalty kick shootout simulator that counts the number of goals a home team and an away team scores in a soccer penalty kick shootout, where both teams have 5 turns. So it's not a perfect simulator of the real situation. It's also going to assume that each shot has a 50% chance of going in. We are going to use the random class by importing it. And basically what this random class is someone else has created this class that has a bunch of functions associated with it. And we can call these functions in order to generate random variables. And in this situation, we'll create random integers between 0 and 1. And if the integer is 1, then we'll say that shot went in. If the integer is 0, then that shot did not go in. Okay, so we can start coding. So first of all, we are going to, before I even get started with the normal code, I'm going to have to import this random class, which is going to have a bunch of methods that will help us generate random numbers that will help determine if a penalty shooter makes it or misses it. So first, I want to define a function. Let's say soccer shootout, and we don't need any parameters for this. And we'll set some counters, so the home goals is going to be 0, and the away goals is going to be 0 as well. And we are going to want to use a for loop, so for I in range, well, there's 5 shots, so we're going to want to use in range 5. Then we need that. Home shot is going to equal random dot rand int from 0 to 1. And what this is going to do, it's pretty much just like a coin flip. So if the shot is equal to 0, then we can say he missed. And if it's equal to 1, then we can say the player made it. And then we'll have to do the same for away shot. Random.rand int 0, 1. And then we are going to say if home shots equals 1, then home goals is going to increment by 1. And then we don't want an elif, we want a regular if, because both can happen. If away shot equals 1, then away goals is going to increment by 1. And then out of the for loop, if home goals is greater than away goals, then we can print out a statement saying that the home team won. So we'll say if home goals is greater than away goals, then print the home team won by a score of, sorry, I'm going to use the singular quotes for the string, even though it doesn't matter, by a score of, and then we're going to use concatenation, and then we are going to have to cast the home goals as a string, and then we can write home team won by a score of blank to string of str dot away goals, and if we want to add a period after that, we can, and then close it up with the parentheses. So we have, if the home team scores more goals than the away team, then the home team won by a score of blank to blank. Now we can do an elif statement because these are going to be mutually exclusive from each other. If away goals greater than home is greater than home goals, then we can print I'm just going to copy and paste the statement and switch the home stuff with the away stuff. So the away team won by a score of away goals to home goals. Okay, so I double casted that for some reason. And finally, well, they can still be tied, so we are going to say print the teams are tied after 5 kicks, and then string home goals. Actually, we only need to say that once. So the teams are tied after 5 kicks at, and then we can say STR home goals, and it doesn't matter whether we use home goals or away goals because they're both tied. And then we can add a period at the end. And so if we run this function, let's say at the end, we have to call this function in order for it to run and print a statement. But if we are to do so, oh, what am I missing? I'm missing a plus sign there. There we go. The away team won by a score of 2-1. The away team won by a score of 4-3. The teams are tied after 5 kicks at 4. And the home team won by a score of 3-2. So our function has worked, and obviously it's not going to cover every possibility in a soccer shootout, because sometimes a home team will win before finishing 5 kicks, and sometimes the away team will win before that. And if they're tied after 5 kicks, then you keep going. But we will not be going into that. And that'll just take more code. You have the gist of it. And it's a bittersweet moment right now. It's the last video, and I really had fun with this. I really hope you all learned as much as I did from doing this, and I hope you had a lot of fun listening to me. I hope you are more interested in computer science than before, and go out there. If you're into this stuff, go out there, check out the different languages, do some fun projects. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and I guess that's bye for now. Have a wonderful rest of your life.